7:30. You're welcome along to OTB AM. It's Tuesday, it's not Friday, but it's Adrian here and it's Shane over there, and between both of us, it's Kenny Cunningham. Good morning, Kenny Cunningham. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good, lads. All good.
You've just literally
this
very second been given out about the lack of provision of croissants.
Croissant.
Yeah. Plenty of Weetabix around the place, but
I feel great.
Croissants.
Kenny was dissing me Weetabix this morning. I have to
Wouldn't
say,
be a go-to for me now either, I must admit.
Not even a healthy option, really.
It's probably the healthiest.
Have you looked at the box? Have you looked at the ingredients?
No,
Have you looked at the small print?
I'm going by reputation alone, to be honest.
It's probably the healthiest of those easy breakfasts. Do you know what I mean? Your Cocoa Pops, your Frosties, Adrian. Your cornflakes.
It's a slow energy burn, isn't it? A bit like porridge.
Yeah, you want a bit of flaxseed or something, a few seeds on it, Shane. That'd be the thing that'd bring
fruit,
it out.
Bit of
but it's hard. You see, it's hard to get porridge going or something that's
never been into
healthy.
porridge.
Have you not?
Never been into
even when you were
porridge.
playing, because that would have been a good source of energy.
Yeah. No, it would have been. No, never in. Remember Ready Breck round up over here?
Yeah.
Powdery stuff. Powdery stuff.
It's a kid's version of porridge, basically. I think.
I used to eat Ready Breck
Victorian times, innit? Ready Breck. You know, Ready Breck. You used to feel sorry for people. You used to feel sorry for kids who had Ready Breck. You'd say, bless them.
What's your problem with porridge?
Ready Breck for breakfast.
What's your problem with porridge?
Porridge was high end.
Was it?
I think so. Compared to Ready Breck.
You get a few cheap
porridge is cheap as chips.
Now. Yeah.
It's cheap as cereal.
Chips aren't cheap. I'll tell you that. How much are chips in your takeaway?
Well, inflation.
You would know more about.
You would know more about
for
a bag of chips.
I said to myself coming in this morning, Kenny's in, and like he's always talking about food, and we love chatting about food, but we're not going to do that this morning.
Led that way.
We didn't even plan to talk about it. Yeah. You brought the Weetabix up, Kenny, I have to say.
What would you have for breakfast? Having said that, here we are. What would you have for breakfast?
No, I'm not bad actually. A bit of fruit. I wouldn't eat a lot early on in the day. Maybe a little bit of fruit. Banana. I've been cramping. Don't want to get too but cramping a lot of late. So somebody said banana.
All right, okay.
Simple solution. Banana.
Coffee,
potassium, seemingly.
Tea.
Potassium. That's a given. That's
so
a well
bit of
known.
fruit.
Did you know that potassium?
I did not know that.
It's good for you.
Anti-cramping. Method or foods. Yeah, there you go.
Chemical symbol is K for potassium. Just for
cup of tea, cup of coffee.
I will have not early in the morning. No,
right.
That's during the day. That's a little treat if I've been good. But normally, now I've got to, physically you've got a run and done a few bits. Then that's a little treat early afternoon.
For a man who looks to be as fit as a butcher's dog, anytime I hear you talking about food, it doesn't appear it's all sort of.
Sweet tooth.
He runs it off.
Apologise for that.
I'm not asking you to apologise. I'm just saying that
it's not choice.
I was walking down Capel Street the other day and I was thinking of Kenny Cunningham because he recommended. I'm a big Bunsen burger fan. This isn't sponsored, but Kenny recommended Dash. And I walked past Dash and then I thought of Kenny. I walked back in, went in and ordered myself a double cheeseburger.
Seriously, what you think?
Tell you what,
it's up there, isn't it?
Kenny was right.
Was he?
It's gone above Bunsen for me.
Oh,
just by a margin.
That.
I didn't try the chips, so I can't speak for the hand cut fries. But burger wise,
good value. How much?
Yeah, I can't remember how much I paid, but it wasn't bad.
$8.95.
Probably something along those lines.
See, that's not bad. Anything under a tenner. Anything under a tenner for a hamburger in Dublin, you've done well.
Yeah, a double.
I don't get the smash burger concept. I'd rather just have a good.
I don't know how it's made, but it tastes good.
You get double help me get the double burger in there.
Wafer thin.
Yeah, wafer thin, but they because it's wafer thin, they really kind of crisp it up on the grill, and then all the little bits, scratch all them little bits up, bang it all on there.
Is it controversial to say that I'd be partial to a Five Guys?
Oh, you've lost me there. I don't even know.
They're expensive. Very expensive.
Nice.
That wouldn't be an issue.
They're nice.
That wouldn't be an issue for Adrian. You know what I mean? Now one of these people enjoys paying more. It's a bit of a status thing.
I'd be more of a wow burger
like
kind of guy.
As soon as I said $8.95, he came back with the five ways. What was it?
Five guys. Six guys, isn't it? 5 ways. 4 ways.
They're an American franchise, Kenny. They're like
keep it local produce, that's what I say.
Yeah.
Good McDonald's or something nice.
That's local, I don't know.
I don't have a clue.
I think they are actually.
How was the Pilates?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
I was there yesterday. Tickety boo.
You were coming in. You were to be in yesterday, but you decided you knew I was on this morning, so you said, listen,
priorities. Put your health. Got to put your health.
You do?
Your well-being first.
Right. Yeah.
Don't begrudge me that, lads.
I've never.
Well, sorry, Pilates. I'm sounding an idiot here. Pilates is basically stretching.
That wouldn't be hard. What?
It's basically stretching. difficult stretching.
You do sound like an idiot. You're right. Next question.
How does Pilates differentiate from yoga? Is my question.
The lads were talking about this on yourself and Joe were talking about the other night.
So let's not go there.
That clip exists out there somewhere if people
in
are
the ether. I can find. I'll go and find it after the show.
You want to delete it?
Yeah.
You were saying just before we come on that you weren't especially pliable as a player, that you had to work on that pretty in your playing days. You had to work on that a lot.
Oh, I did. Honest to God, it was just, I'm embarrassed now looking back. I'd say the first half of those 6-8 years of my career, it's just like embarrassing some of the stuff I was doing. Yeah, very little stretching, no kind of flexibility. Didn't understand it whatsoever. Didn't understand my body. I'd say for the first 6 years, what I used to Millwall 5 years, we used to have our gym was a porta cabin on stilts in the car park.
Right.
It wedged in the corner at the car park. It was, you would have put it up in like 20 minutes. One of these shows now, home improvement shows, I put it together in 20 minutes. So I had a multi-gym, walked in the door and had a multi-gym, these multi-gym things in the middle, about 4 stages. There was the bench press, there was the pull down, one leg weight option, and a few weights kind of scattered, and that was basically it. So you just went in there and just pushed as heavy as you could, as many times as you could.
Jeez.
And funny enough now, I just remembered being in there one afternoon. It was late on, because I was a bit sad, like I hadn't much to be doing over there. Most of the people would have been left, so I rambled out there after maybe an afternoon session or whatever. I was the only one in there. Start pulling the pull down bar, thinking, oh yeah, heaviest weight I could, here we go. This is the type of mentality, this is what I'm talking about. Gotta lift the heaviest weight. And actually, as I pulled it down, the thing snapped. So I pulled it down onto my head, like crashed it down onto my head. Yeah, split myself open.
Oof.
So I was like stumbled out of the park.
People are like,
into the car park. Thankfully there was no CCTV back in the day. That would have been very funny. I was literally like stumbling across. I didn't really know. Walk back into the physio was walking out of the building. Caught a glance at me. Were you okay? And blood streaming down my face. Don't think so.
Jeez.
Took me in. Blah blah. Anyway, I'm obviously making a bit of a joke of it, but the point being, that was it. That was the kind of mentality. Give me a weight, lift the biggest thing. You know what I mean?
But even in terms of stretching and that stuff, the like squad approach to that, pre-match, pre-training, was there anything, like, was it organised? You know the way that you see now, you see all these really complex routines where people are sort of, like you're in a ball of sweat obviously before the game even begins, but not the case.
No, very little, almost like a little bit of token gesture. So there was a little bit of stretching there, but pretty much, almost like a little kind of tick box. Only when those kind of conditioning coaches and stuff came in and kind of a bit more information coming your way and made you think, and players got a little bit more proactive then. Then obviously the foreign influence, I'd say again, when I say foreign, I don't mean Irish. Continental influence coming over, and you see those lads, and it's just like, "Whoa, this is interesting. What are you doing there?" You're actually having conversations with people, and you're thinking, "That's interesting. I might try a bit of that." So, so that the whole thing evolved over a period of time. But it came too late for me, unfortunately.
You were down at UCD last night. You were more there to see Derry than you were the home team.
He's still cold here. You can feel the cold emanating from his body.
From there moments ago.
Yeah, it was cold. Layered up. I was proper layered up, but had the wrong shoes on.
Rookie mistake.
So I was doubled up on me socks. Tracksuit bottoms underneath me jeans. Wasn't too bad, but the footwear wore me flimsy trainers. Schoolboy one.
What would you have done? The two pairs of socks might have been the solution.
2 pairs of socks, but just didn't the outside layer protection.
It's relatively exposed on there as well, isn't it? It's not like
even
though it's called the Belfield Bowl.
A couple of years, like don't get me wrong, I'm looking for the sympathy vote, but now the play I want to get eyes on there. They hadn't seen a play live this year, so I was interested. It looks as if they're going to put
impressive
thereabouts. They were, to be honest with you. Obviously it was a struggle for UCD. I was reading the manager's notes there, Andy Moyle. He was saying he's without a few players, so you have to factor that in. So they found it tough. Like probably Derry, not being too disrespectful to UCD, but probably didn't get out of second gear really. Kind of managed the game well, and not even probably their strongest 11 out. No, Duffy, McElhenney, one or two other players. Adam O'Reilly, who I like a lot, who brought him from Preston or was at Pats last year. Yeah, but even still, Jordan McInnes got 2 great goals. I don't know if you've seen the goals. The first 2 goals, fantastic.
Ollie O'Neill's in from Fulham as well.
Yeah, came off the bench. Like, so that's what I'm saying. This squad depth looks good. They look as if, even last night, one-off game, but you sense they look as if they're ready for the title challenge. I know they were thereabouts last year, but they look in good shape. But the acquisitions they've made have obviously strengthened them. So yeah, they're in a good place.
We're going to have a lot of League of Ireland chat across the course of the show, because we're going to come back to that. We've Vinny Perth on a little bit later on. He's going to join us in the studio to chat a little bit more about some of the results last night, some interesting stuff. You're a relatively newcomer to the League of Ireland. Is that fair enough to say? Relatively.
No, we're talking about this, but no, I wouldn't say so. In terms of getting to a huge amount of live fixtures, yeah, maybe so. I probably watched more League One the last 3 or 4 or 5 years than I've ever done. But yeah, I always kept in contact with it. Even so, I've finished playing about 15 years now, so I've kind of been around. Most of my work is over here in Dublin anyway. So generally speaking, if I'm over, I'd looked at the games. If there's a game in town, Dublin in particular, I'd kind of pitch up. But generally I always kind of kept in contact. I wouldn't give it the old banging the drum, massive fan in the League of Ireland as such, but always interested in it, and certainly in terms of the players and young talent in particular, which has always been a common theme, I think, in the League of Ireland. I mean, that's always been a constant in terms of where the league is at financially, the quality of football that we're seeing, facilities and all of that, you know what I mean? But in terms of the one constant theme for me has been, young talent in the league, and that's as prominent now as it's ever been.
When you retired, it was not by choice, really, was it? Were you going to retire anyway? I know you were injured at the end of your days at Sunderland.
Adrian.
But I'm wondering where I'm going with this. I'll give you the signpost where I'm going.
Don't take me back to that. That's a dark place.
I wondered, did you have any inkling to come back and play?
I didn't have it. No, when I finished, I was kind of I was done really. I would say I was done. I probably could have actually played a bit. I finished when I was 36 at Sunderland, and I probably could have played for another year, maybe at some level. A year, but I wasn't mentally. I'd had enough to be honest. Yeah, I was, because I was not struggling physically. Injury was, but I wasn't playing at the level that I wanted. You know, you're struggling 36, your body's struggling, and you know you're kidding yourself on a little bit. You know what I mean?
Do you not think? You know, I could take whatever level, like go down to whatever it would have been at the time. I'd take a step down and...
No. Funny enough, I heard that, you hear that when you're a younger pro, people say to play for as long as you can, much you can for as kind of as long as you can. And I've seen players do that, play at a very high level, come back, play Championship, Div 2 and go and play wherever level they can until late 30s, 40s. And for some people that might be the right decision. But I don't think it's a given, not for everybody. I think for some players, and I may have been one of them, it gets to a point when your performance levels drop off to a certain degree there. It's hard to stomach it, to be honest with you.
Did retirement scare you, or did you embrace it when it came around?
Probably neither, to be honest with you. You know it's coming. You know, again, it's very cliche, the lads, before you just don't realise, and... You kind of do, of course you do. You know it's kind of coming. You can kind of blind yourself to it, or kind of, I don't want to deal with it, fair enough. But yeah, it's coming down the tracks at you like a train. So it was just one of those things. You accept it and you move on. I don't know, people talk about little transitions and all that. I suppose there is to a certain extent, and I think it is true. A lot of players kind of struggle with it. I think probably some of the data coming out there will probably indicate there's indicators there. A lot of players do. So I have a small amount of sympathy, but not a huge amount. I've got to be honest with you, like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of people struggling out there for a lot of different reasons, like, you know what I mean? So, just got to get on with it. It's as simple as that. You move on, appreciate for what you had, but that's it. It's done, it's history, and you just...
Next stage of your life?
You just kind of move on, plod on, don't you?
You strike me as somebody who's easily able to compartmentalise that sort of stuff, like that you can say, right, in a way that I'm sure a lot of people, like you're hinting at there, a lot of footballers obviously come out of that system and are so institutionalised by everything that's gone on over the last... I heard a comment recently, it'll come to me in a second who said it, but they said there were... John Giles on with Nathan last week talking about you get into football at 15, you leave at 35 and you're still a 15-year-old.
In some respects, I think that's probably changed a little bit this last kind of generation, like probably a little bit more rounded in terms of into how they're prepared when they come out the football game, and putting things in place. A lot of good advice out there now, maybe even courses, education are different things. Like I think it was different kind of 20 years ago. I think John's certainly right, certainly in his time. But it's true. Yeah, it is true. There's a small, but again, you can't over, the old violin out and all that lark, like, you know what I mean? You just gotta get on with it. And you're right. Yeah, you do have to. I think you do have to compartmentalise, like you said. You got to just kind of box it off and that, because you can't have all that stuff spinning around in your head. That's it. It's done. Like, and I was lucky. I still had a bit of contact with the media stuff. It wasn't a decision I made. This is me, the media, like, you know what I mean. But I just kind of stumbled into it. I suppose that kind of helped me a little bit, kind of being around, and I enjoy the football and the analysis, and even with people a little bit, not kind of like-minded people who like their football and they're kind of into it. Meet up with the lads occasionally who you played with and that type of thing. So it wasn't as if there was massive distance between me. I was lost in a vortex somewhere, like, you know what I mean. Woe me and all that kind of thing. So so to a small degree, I'm very thankful to you, lads.
Yeah, but you also have to blow more smoke in your direction, like that ability to, like, we'd be dealing on a fairly regular basis with people who are involved in sport or have come out of sport. Not everybody has the ability to
talk,
to be in company and get that sort of, like, it's quite clear from a lot of people that you meet that are involved or post-sport, given the selfish nature of it and the dressing room nature of it, that actually been functioning in normal society doesn't come that easy to them. Whereas I never really had that vibe with you. I kind of feel that you're...
no, I think that's a stretch, Adrian. Like, that's
well, Shane will tell you, I'm sure the same.
People function in normal society. Yeah. Bloody well, you can't have a conversation with people on the street.
Absolutely.
Like, no, I don't agree with that.
I
think that's too much.
A lot of players don't want to talk about the career in depth. They don't want to think about it. They almost want to move on fully.
I'd say. You're talking to one here.
Well, yeah, but then people love the nostalgia.
Because you got me on the rack. You changed the subject about 8 times.
Was haven't taken the last couple of questions. You were Sunderland captain that year when you got injured. Was that
I think I might have had the Harry Maguire role. I might have been club captain by the end of the year.
Who was the Bruno?
That token gesture one.
Well, there was no way that man was giving you the captaincy as a token gesture. No chance.
Who was that?
Roy.
Oh, no, Roy, yeah. But Roy came in a little bit...
Did he not make you captain?
No, because... No, Roy didn't make me captain. No, it was Niall, because Niall took on the manager's job. Yeah.
He did a great job for a short period of time, didn't he? Am I wrong about that? No, okay, I'm wrong about that.
No.
I take that one back.
No, because Roy wouldn't have made me captain. I missed that 4 months of that year through injury when Roy came in. Okay. So the captaincy would have been handed.
So it was never
handed on. Yeah.
You never had to sit down and talk to him about, like. Or was there?
Why the hell have I not got that armband, Roy? It's a
I'm getting back next week.
I demand. No, Roy, keep quiet. Let me talk.
I believe those conversations generally went down the wall. Yeah. So you would have had very little dealings with him then, would you? At that time, if you were injured, like, you wouldn't have been in or about training grounds, or would you?
No, not for that period. Certainly when I was injured. No, because you know what it's like. You're injured. You're kind of ostracised to a point. That's the way it is. Like, you just get on with it. You know. So yeah, that was par for the course. But no, it was an enjoyable year. That, like I said, I didn't play towards the end. I got myself back fit, but didn't play. The team was flying, but it was nice to be in, nice that environment to be in. Because up until then, I'd never been involved in it, any kind of success or trophy, or forget about all of that. And funny enough, people say to me, like, "Oh, did you ever win?" I mean, if you asked me, did I ever win a trophy? I'd be like, no trophy. I honestly forget. Yeah. I've got a medal for that year. We won the championship, but it doesn't feel like it. If being honest with you, I only played about a dozen games at the start of the season, and that was that. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, but I don't.
You have to play what, 8 or 10 games to get it, or is that?
Why don't you count that?
To be honest with you,
I'd be counting that if I was you. Jesus,
as we know from previous conversation, Shane, Kenny keeps these things, the tropes from his career.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah,
you probably don't even know where the medal is, do you?
No, I haven't seen it. No, it's in my laundry bag with me jerseys.
Do you have the ball? You see the ball behind the World Cup?
He has all the stuff up in his attic.
All the Irish stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
you got to hold on to some bits, you know.
Kenny, seriously, that breaks my heart when I hear that stuff.
Breaks your heart?
Yeah, they're amazing things to have.
I didn't get rid of them. Didn't bin them. They're around.
Can we start a campaign to find Kenny Cunningham's championship medal?
He knows where it is. He just doesn't want to look at it. Is that right?
Do you know where it is?
I presume. It's in the laundry bag. This one I'm telling you.
Can you commit on air, right? To allowing us to come in with cameras and open those laundry bags and have a look. No. I think that would be.
What's the show where they come into the house, Peggy, and
Irish
clean out the gaff?
That's ever been made.
All the stuff's in bits.
Yeah. We'll do that. I'm sure your gaff's not like that, Ken.
That would be amazing.
Far off, to be fair.
Would you be up for that?
No, not at all.
I'll take.
So you're saying there's a chance.
That's me compartmentalising and just boxing that off.
Somebody wondering here, what was Keane like as a manager? Was he tactical? I mean, you probably didn't get to see a huge amount of that side of him, did you, if you were not on the pitch?
Yeah, well, I only spent that 1 year with Roy, to be honest with you. So obviously Roy had managed for a long time after that. So I suppose it'd be difficult to kind of pigeonhole him after, but that was his first taste of management. So I thought he done very well that year, to be honest with you, considering it was his first year. He brought a couple of assistants in with him who he'd worked with previously. Didn't involve himself a huge amount on the training pitch. Really? Never thought he would. But training was very well organised, very well thought out, very well planned. He left that to his kind of number 2 and things like that. So I would say that in terms of the day-to-day training was very good. Nothing loose about it whatsoever. But yeah, not a huge amount of tactical side to the setup. Not a huge amount of shape boys and whatever. Not a huge amount of time spent on that. And Roy wouldn't at that point didn't get hugely involved in it. That might change later when he managed elsewhere and stuff like that. But yeah, I think he had a sense of that with Roy, don't you? You hear about when he talks about his playing career and managers who he played with. You get a sense with Roy, he wasn't didn't want to be overburdened with too much of that information, which I always thought was interesting because Roy was obviously very smart and his game intelligence was off the scale in terms of how he saw the game and his basic reading in the game. Roy didn't need too much information. Elite players generally don't, but that's not always the case, obviously, as you go down the as you go down the pyramid and stuff like that. You feel as if players need a little bit more information, a little bit more guidance. So that's something which is interesting in the game. You learn, you coach and whatever else, but no right or wrong really, I don't think.
I saw he missed out on the Pundit of the Year last night there was the Sports Journalist of the Year awards.
Up.
I don't know actually. Ali McCoist won Pundit of the Year,
right?
Which not many people. Yeah, when you
what is a pundit? What technically is it? Is
studio analysis, in-game commentary, any of that sort.
I'd be calling him co-commentator of the year.
I know, but he does a lot of punditry on TalkSport.
Yeah, he's a very good talker, I will say that.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, he does a breakfast. A couple of times I had him on the breakfast thing over in the UK. Very good. You're talking about communication, interaction with people, tone, the whole shebang. Very smart, good sense of humour. So from that point of view, and I've heard a couple of his co-coms decent as well. Yeah. Wouldn't necessarily say co-com is stand out, but still you get a flavour of that what I'm talking about, even on the co-coms when he does it. What was Roy like post-match? I didn't say the United Liverpool.
Well,
he was very quiet, reasonably quiet. Like he still went to town on them a little bit, but he was kind of letting Gary Neville do the chatting, and him and Neville and Souness were doing a lot of the back and forth. And Keane was very critical of Bruno Fernandes, I have to say, unsurprisingly, and his attitude in the second half particularly. But he was muted enough compared to what he would normally be.
He must have been up there. He must have been in the mix.
He was nominated. Yeah, he was nominated, and there was a couple of cricketing pundits in there and bits and pieces like that. Ali McCoist made a gag that it's been a bad 48 hours for Roy.
Careful. Yeah.
I thought it was a good. That was good. I'd be a big Ali McCoist fan. I take your point about the in-game stuff. I think as much of the attraction to him was about the personality bit and the charisma bit, and everybody sort of feels like his pal.
Yeah. And I think with him, you don't feel as if it's too forced. Some people, you kind of try and give up that kind of vibe, but you're not quite buying it. Hey, you probably know better than me. A bit like myself putting on this forest smile this morning. But you sense with him, with McCoist, it's kind of natural. What you see is what you get. I think people kind of get a sense of that.
I was saying it with the commentary even at the weekend. Like people have certain commentators that they like and don't like. Like I want a commentator where you go out to the kitchen for a cup of tea and you can hear there's been a chance or a goal because the tone has been raised, the voice has been raised. With some commentators at the moment, it's just. It's for me like
that's interesting.
You wouldn't know there's been a goal.
You're talking about me directly here, like I'm getting a sense of that. That was actually. It is interesting. You're right, though. People think I don't really give it too much thought in terms of like do a bit of co-com stuff, which I actually enjoy. But I don't overthink it. I don't think it at all. To be honest with you, but
you're better off.
No, I don't think so. Actually, no, I think you're wrong there. I think what you should really be doing is actually listening back to your commentary and actually listening to people.
That works for some people.
Yeah, but it does matter. You're right, and tone exactly and pitch. I think really does matter. It gets people's attention, doesn't it? At various moments, over talking, which I've been very guilty of for a long period of time and still am. Tell you about I got a letter posted to me at RTE some time ago. It was very good. Obviously wouldn't get a lot of if any fan mail, but this has been there for about 6 months. I came into RTE, a lad threw it at me. Look, I found this. Oh yeah, well, opened it up. Usually it's someone from, Kazakhstan looking for 2 photos signed or whatever, and no postage.
They're looking for the other Kenny
Cost you
Cunningham.
about 18 quid to get the postage or whatever. Anyway, but opened up was a letter, and it was actually from a gentleman in South Dublin. Very well written. Whole page. Oh, this is interesting. Started off, Ken. Very nice, Ken. A big fan. Blah. Your career, and hold on. Where's this leading? However, and he went on to explain. Look, I think I need to point out a few things in terms of your co-commentary style. I made that point that you've made there. I think you've got to be very careful that you don't over talk it. Too much information. Really feel as if you need to hold back. And he was absolutely right in terms of what he said, because you kind of I listened to it and I thought, you're absolutely right. So a little bit like you're saying there, I think it is a skill, and it's a skill which you can.
No, I wasn't pointing at you whatsoever. I think
you're right. I'm saying it's just how coincidentally I'm in the yoke, but you're absolutely. I think it is something which you've already got it, you haven't. I think there's a certain amount of that, but I think you can sharpen it up if you're really kind of, you got your blinkers on. You can really get good at it. You can improve and get better. So I think I think once you wrap up and you have your Weetabix or banana before you start, then you're onto a winner on the commentary.
the letter was signed R. Nugent.
Donnybrook. No, I tell you what, he signed it, but he didn't put his address on it, because I would have actually penned him. I did.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
Because you took it in the spirit that he.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't a fair. And he was an old boy, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And you have to show a bit of respect. And you know what? He actually made it. It wasn't a case of, sort yourself out, you're a disgrace, you're embarrassing yourself and all of that, like. Yeah. It was kind of quite constructive, but he was right. He was absolutely right. I used to be like that when I was younger, 15, 16. I used to write letters to celebrities looking for autographs in the post. Would you have got that? You say you're getting letters from Kazakhstan and all sorts of places. You might have got a letter from me. I have autographs from you back in the day. Yeah. Kenny used to be one of the great players to stop outside the old Lansdowne Road.
Right. And it would always stop like.
I have a number of autographs of Kenny Cunningham in my.
So what was there? There would have been players that didn't, obviously.
100%. Yeah. Now Kevin Caban was always very good.
Shame.
Kenny, Kev, David Connolly was very good. Richard Dunn was very good. There's a few players who I was like, they're always stopping. Anchors. All regulars in the show as well. By chance. No, they were brilliant. Always stopped for the young kids, and I was one of them. I always thought the lads were very. This is post-match, is it? Where Lansdowne? Yeah, Lansdowne. Andorra would have been my first game. Oh, was that right, yeah? You came out, there was a little. It's totally different to what it is nowadays. Yeah, but I'm trying to take even the exit at Lansdowne. That man, I'm struggling to
come out between the house and the stand. Is that right?
Yeah. And they came out. And there was kind of the fences set up.
Cottage, what was it?
That little cottage thing, yeah. Did someone actually live in that? Did we ever?
No, it was like a little. It was a clubhouse.
I thought it was one of those things they wouldn't sell.
They opened the front door. Oh, there's a game on today.
They build it around it. Like,
I wonder what's happening. I was like, did you hear that outside? Turn on that TV a second.
Well, I tell you what summed up at the old Lansdowne for me. Talk about chalk and cheese, because obviously the Vives would still be Lansdowne to me, but obviously it's not in a lot of other respects. But I always remember after the game. Carsey, Stephen Carr, because Carsey would have been north. He wouldn't have been far down for me. His family from Donaghmede would have been up in Coolock. But I remember him running out maybe at times after the game. I remember actually seeing him once running out to the train station outside at Lansdowne, because the station's literally right outside there. So he'd grab his bag and leg out and jump on the dart. I remember once watching him. I remember once, with his bag over his end of the dart to go back to his man dad's like. So something small like that, you know what I mean? You think, that's
very Irish
of the times, isn't it?
You wouldn't get that now.
Very nostalgic, like. Yeah.
Well, you get mobbed, it'd be a social media moment.
Yeah, TikTok all over it.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah, it's all forced and all that type of thing. But yeah, just a small little thing. Yesteryear, I suppose.
Here's what's coming up between now and 10 for you this morning. Almost 8 o'clock. You're very welcome along to OTB AM, wherever it is you are at. Adrian, Shane and Kenny with you over the course of the morning. OTB AM with Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition is available now. We have Andy Mitten on in about 10 minutes time. We'll have more reaction, more fallout from United Liverpool, plenty more little tidbits of stories emerging from the papers this morning, so that's coming your way in the next 10 minutes. We're going to talk to Chris Medland. We were chatting to him last Friday in advance of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and we will get into more details with him about the Verstappen's victory and one race in his inevitable march to the championship, as Shane will tell you in just a little bit. John Duggan will be with us at 20 to 9 to let us know what's happening in the world of live sport. We'll talk to Vinnie Perth. He'll be in studio. He was at the Rovers game last night. And Kenny obviously was in the Belfield Bowl, so we'll get their combined thoughts on last night's round of games in the League of Ireland. Plenty of talking points from that. The power rankings will be updated in the company of Tommy Rooney at 9:10 this morning. Who will be the movers and shakers, or will there be any movers and shakers at all after the last weekend, the last round of games in the Allianz Football League? That's coming your way at 9:10, and then Tom English from the show last night at 9:30. So as you can tell, it's a nice stack show for you this morning between now and 10 o'clock. I mentioned a couple of the tidbits emerging from the fallout from the drubbing, Kenny, at Anfield on Sunday, and there's plenty more. He made the players sit in silence. Apparently the United players sit in silence in the dressing room. This is what's been reported. Anyway, you always get these little bits and pieces that come out in the days after a game, that he made them sit in silence and listen, be in tune with the Liverpool celebrations.
Yeah, sounds like a bit of Mikel Arteta moment, this. Yeah.
Is that meant to be
well, I've got to be honest with you. I rolled my eyes a little bit. Like, I think we're all impressed with the job Ten Hag's done in terms of the turnaround off the back of the start of the season, which they had. So I think he's had a huge amount of plaudits of late, and rightly so. I don't read too much into these things. It was a little bit like that performance or that result some time ago. Do you remember he got them in on the Monday and he had them running?
Yeah, 4-0.
At the Brentford, that was early in the season.
12 kilometres less than Brentford in the game, and he made them. And he himself, the thing that made me laugh from that one was, and they're still writing about it again this morning, that, you know, it was such a show of, you know,
the cult of personality,
and he ran it himself. And this was why it was a show of unity. I mean,
yeah. So I wasn't buying into that at the time. I've got to be honest with you. That didn't make it. No, for me that was like a little bit show. You could argue, they ran 12 kilometres less, so they should, you know. But that was collectively the whole team, wasn't it? So you're making every individual work run for. So yeah, that didn't quite stand. That took me back to the day where talking about nostalgia, when you would get a bit of a beating or you get a drubbing, the performance levels wouldn't have been up, and you'd be in the following morning, Sunday morning. Like, I remember coming in and just running, just literally slogging it, and that was like, you know, you did it, you accepted that was par for the course, but it was like nonsensical stuff. You were coming in, you were stiff, you know, you might have been dehydrated, players carrying knocks, and you were being asked to go and sprint around the pitch or go on a massive hike, or do a load of sprints, like punishment. It was like punishment stuff, mad stuff, really, like, you know what I mean? So actually that Ten Hag thing early in the season had a bit of a flavour of that. I know it would have been a little bit more in terms of thought out in terms of exactly what kind of running they're doing, but the principle of it, kind of, that wasn't good enough. You're going to get punished. I don't think. It's a bit too schoolmastery, that, for me. So this is a little bit different. I take your point. This is a little bit more subtle, isn't it? But I don't know. I'm trying to picture myself in that dressing room and the manager saying, "Look, everybody quiet now. I want you to listen to that." I'd be like, Gaffer, I'd rather you start shouting and screaming, to be honest with you.
But also, even outside of him shouting and screaming, like, it wouldn't have been particularly noisy dressing room, I would have thought, anyway. Like, who's in ranting and raving? I don't know. I think after 7-0, Liverpool players would be giving it loads, because Liverpool players would, but in the United dressing room.
They'd be quiet anyway.
I couldn't imagine they would.
Well, yeah, you'd imagine so. Like,
yeah, I think that's the time for me, though. I've got to be honest with you. This is interesting. Again, there's no right or wrong. I suppose this is management spiel and man management, etc. You know, after a result, like, they probably talk about this in coaching seminars. How do you deal with that absolute drubbing? You know what I mean? Showed players coming into the dressing room after. How do you immediately approach that as a manager? What do you do? Some managers, right, lads, have a shower, you know, pack your bags, see you in the morning. Others, right, let's have a, you know, listen to the whatever. Other managers go in there, bang, let them have it. I think it's a good. I remember Ferguson vaguely some years ago reading a little bit. Ferguson was talking, and I think his attitude was, get it out at the time. Yeah, get it out and
deal with it.
Yeah, deal with it then. Put it out there. Have your toe to toe, and then whoosh, you come in on the Monday and that's it. Rather than maybe let it linger for the period of time, which I'm sure other managers would, and then try and confront it on the Monday and go and, you know, get stuck into it then. You know, and that made a little bit of sense to me. You know, just get it out. Even as a player, you might be looking over at somebody in the dressing room, he's let us down today.
Yeah, but,
you know, at least say it to his face, well, bang, this is how I feel. Honestly,
is that not dangerous? Like, to play devil's advocate, is it not better to sleep on it? Everyone reacts calmly the next day. They've had a bit of time to think about it, and in a relaxed manner, then the next day have a proper discussion about it.
Yeah,
without finger pointing.
Yeah, But I think every dressing room is different and every situation is different. I suppose these are the very good managers have a good feel for that when they're coming. Almost when they walk into they might have a picture in their head. This is how I'm going to handle this. They walk into the dressing room and within 10 seconds, no, it's changed. They get a sense of, no, I've got to deal with this now, or well, I'm going to hammer a few people. They think, actually, no, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to step back. You know what I mean? So that's like the very good managers get a bit of a sense for that. You know, so that separates the very best from the also-rans, I suppose. But yeah, again, no right or wrong. So yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, but not for me, to be honest with you. When I read that about the silence, for me that felt like awkward. And as an athlete, professional, that's not for me. That's not what you're aware of that. You know that
he's obviously hoping that this is the thing. Let's bottle this, and the next time the difficulty.
But it's there. You have to inside you anyway. You don't have to breathe that in. Listen, you've had that for the whole of the second half. You've had it walking off the pitch, down the tunnel. That's why your head's spinning.
It's plenty full already. Is that there?
Yeah, I think your head's spinning. All of that's in there anyway. By the time you get into the dressing room, I don't think the manager needs to hold on. Have a listen to the Liverpool supporters say, "Oh, is that right? Oh, yeah, of course, yeah." No, that's in there already. You're absolutely ready to pop. I almost think you need a little bit of a release. Can't let it get too much out of hand. Don't get me wrong, but you're talking about professional dressing room here, experienced players. You know, people start having a pop, and that's par of the course. Yeah. You can't be taking that personally, like carrying a grudge into the week off the back of that. You got to let that bounce off you and give a bit back. But for me, get it out there. That, you know, more it's a knockout, like that type of thing in the dressing room. Maybe for me that makes more sense than maybe the opposite approach. But like I said, no right or wrong.
Yeah.
I think one of the difficulties for United is that they're like looking at the fixture list. They've Tottenham and Chelsea to come before the end of the season, both of them in April.
Tottenham
they obviously have whatever. I'm sort of clutching at straws a little bit.
John Duggan's there, you know. John.
I know he'll be in later.
I'm clutching at straws even a little bit. Like they've bet themselves in the Europa League. Maybe they progress. Maybe they get like an Arsenal later. But I'm talking about like the opportunity to get back in the pitch against a quality team and get that out of the system at some point. Like it's almost not there. This season, unless they get to a Europa League final.
Yeah. I don't think you need that. I don't think necessarily after performance. I don't think you need that. We want that next big one coming down the road. I think Betis maybe falls into that category. Like, you know, knockout
Fulham in the FA Cup as well.
Europa League. I think that European night, albeit the Europa, you know, I still think that's a big game midweek, and that's a competition they can win. So I'd actually say the Betis game for me is probably a good chance to do that. But I think even it's Southampton, isn't it, on the Saturday? Even Southampton, although albeit they're bottom of the table. Anything, I think you just want to get back on the pitch, don't you? You just want to show that, look, our attitude, we're back on it, we're back at the level that we want to be. Does
he make 6 or 7? Ten Hag is not a man to alternate a starting 11, but to make a point here, does he change the whole team? Does he make 5, 6, 7 changes?
I don't think
so. That would really send a message.
Yeah, but this is off the back of a 10-12 match, more or less unbeaten run. I think it'd be pretty churlish from his point of view, right? That's one significantly below par performance, don't get me wrong. Well, that's it.
But it was the attitude. It was the attitude of some of the players.
Yeah, it was the attitude. I don't think necessarily you have to come with the whip on that one, though. To be honest, because those players have served them very well. If anything, it just for me indicates the kind of weaknesses that are still in that Manchester United squad. I know it's a cliche, bit of a reality check, but I think it was for anybody getting too carried away. Manchester United supporters, etc., or neutrals looking at United, talk of a championship charge this season. Potentially, you can't rule United out, and a perception there that this is a championship title winning team that we're looking at. I think that performance at the weekend kind of blew that out in terms of, well, this Manchester United team, as well as they've been certainly of late, are still significantly short in terms of challenging those teams above them in the league.
Even if you do start to make changes, where do you stop?
Yeah,
well, the players you're taking out are the players that before last weekend were your absolute bankers, mainstays.
Yeah, I would. To be fair, they would probably Andy's going to come on. For me, the one thing that just surprised me, and this is not after the fact, but before the game, the team sheets came in, and I looked at them and I saw the players, and I thought, it's perfective. Yeah, that makes sense. Rashford off the left. Weghorst up top and Bruno Fernandes as a 10. You know, we know how effective Rashford is off the left. We know Bruno's at his best in that central position there. Weghorst does his shift high up the pitch, So to see that little shift in terms of Rashford, Weghorst is a 10 and Bruno straight away, I was like, oof, straight away that looks unbalanced to me. Fernandes gives you nothing down the left hand side 1v1. We know Liverpool's weakness down there in terms of trend defensively, so you let him off the hook by playing Bruno out there. I think it unbalances the team. Playing Weghorst, spoke about this like as a number 10 probably the most unorthodox number 10, 6'4", like built like a giraffe, playing like in the pocket behind a central striker. You know what I mean? And then you're totally dependent. Then you're looking at Anthony. He gives a bit of width down that right hand side. Well, you feast or a famine with Anthony at the moment. You don't know what you're going to get. Got absolutely nothing from him at the weekend. So, difficult to be critical of Ten Hag at the moment, but I must admit that setup in terms of where he positioned players, didn't bowl me over.
He's nearly done a pep on it. He's sort of overthought it.
Yeah, he's done it before, to be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of Fernandes there's no future for me, Bruno Fernandes playing off the flank, so I don't see it at all. I think, for the reasons that I've said, if he has to play in this United team going forward, it's as a 10. I don't think he's even a given to start as a 10. I think going forward, the likes of Eriksen and even a second striker will challenge him for that number 10 position. I haven't bought into the hype of him this year, Bruno, in terms of his overall performances. Been decent enough, attitude, he's made contributions, but I don't think his numbers are up there in terms of assists and goals as he has done previously. And certainly when he operates those positions down the flank, for me, like I said, it detracts from Manchester United at their best at the moment for me. Speed down the flanks, natural kind of wingers, speed down the flanks, and a little schemer as a number 10, whether that be Fernandes, Eriksen, or whoever that is. That's the kind of template at the moment which kind of serves them well for me. Once they deviate away from that, and you mentioned about Pep overcomplicating them. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, for me, it's not as impressive what I'm seeing for Manchester. We got a flavour of that. Obviously the weekend against Liverpool.
Bunch of comments coming into us here. Bobby Dwyer is a Spurs fan, is he?
He is a Tottenham fan, yeah.
So Bobby Dwyer says United fans claiming they're back, Spurs fans fuming with their team at the moment, and there's only 4 points in it. Happy to put a €50 charity bet on with Shane that will still finish ahead of them.
Deal.
Oh, Bobby, get in touch.
Shake the virtual hand. Look, lads, it's Tottenham. Do you know? I'll always let you down, Bobby.
COM on YouTube here. Good morning to CAM. Sorry to whinge, but this interview is ridiculous. After 30 minutes of Brown Nose and Kenny, only now with 8 minutes to go, they begin to discuss current football stories. COM.
Fair play. I back that 100%.
I just said he was a good
back that 100%.
He was a good autograph signer. That's all I said.
COM.
He signed.
Well said.
He signed autographs for kids.
Show.
Well said.
There's lots to get to.
Well
We're easing ourselves into.
A little bit of respect on Kenny's name. For God's sake, Jesus.
Get your Weetabix in.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Take a breath. A little bit of Pilates this morning to do you absolutely no harm whatsoever.
You're ready, Breck.
What's this Ready Breck slander, says Burbuck. You're just not a fan, that's it. Ready Breck and Bruno Fernandes just not doing it for you this morning.
Yeah, maybe Bruno needs his Weetabix.
Brilliant having Kenny on to chat, way more enjoyable, says Tony. Bump. Kenny, brilliant this morning, says Dahi O'Shaughnessy. Just feels like a chat with friends over pints. Perfect. And we'll go with that for the minute, Kenny. I think that's fair enough. That's how I feel about you.
Yeah, but you're doubling down on what that lad was talking about, that criticism in terms of too chummy and all that by reading now complimenting.
No. I'd counter that with saying the exact opposite. That you need a bit of yin and yang.
Yeah.
And typically you, Kenny, to not.
I thought you were a little bit disrespectful. I thought you were a little bit disrespectful to that.
To COM.
That caller, to be honest.
Just tell him to. I'm not been.
Just because he didn't like.
That's the way we do it in this show. We have chats, nice.
We just spoke about that constructive criticism in the dressing room, being prepared to take criticism. We just spoke about the United dressing room after the game. But yeah, you're not prepared to take any criticism. I'm saying
that COM has probably had a bad start to the morning. He or she has got out the wrong side of bed and just needs a little
I'd counteract that.
I take her point. Constructive criticism there. That's
always good.
Fair enough.